This is Nightly Business Report with Tyler Matheson and Sue Herrera.
Raise the roof. Homes in America now cost more than ever before, and it's widening the divide between housing's haves and have-nots.
Saudi shakeup. The world's top oil exporter has new leadership, and with oil prices tumbling, the timing is not a coincidence.
Top complaint. The car features designed to keep us safe behind the wheel may actually be frustrating drivers. Those stories and much more tonight on Nightly Business Report for this Wednesday, June the 21st. Good evening, everybody. Happy first day of summer. I'm Bill Griffith, in tonight for Tyler Matheson.
It's a hot one, too. I'm Contessa Brewer, in for Sue Herrera. And we begin tonight with the housing market, where prices rose a lot last month, even as sales rose just a little. In fact, the median price of a home is now the highest it's ever been, putting home ownership even further out of reach for some. As we've been reporting, low inventory has helped propel prices, and homes are going quick. The number of days a house is on the market hit a new low. And as Diana Olick reports, the divide between homeowners and renters is widening.
Home sales have been seesawing around the same level for a few months now, up slightly from a year ago, but not by much. The headline here is really in home prices. The median price of a home sold in May hit $252,800, and that's a new record high. But it's a median, which means half the homes sold are cheaper and half more expensive. It tells us that more higher-priced homes are selling, and that's skewing that median higher. Take a look. Sales of homes priced under $100,000 dropped 7% from a year ago. Even those priced between $100,000 and $250,000 gained just 2%. On the other hand, sales of homes priced above $500,000 were up over 20%, and million-dollar home sales were up nearly 30%.
Because of the run-up in home prices, it's making it more difficult for renters to convert into ownership. We are essentially stuck at a 50-year low in home ownership rate. And this is occurring at a time when overall housing equity has essentially doubled.
All those folks who can't afford to buy are missing out on that additional wealth. The problem is largely the weak supply, especially of affordable homes for sale. Supply of homes dropped over 8% from a year ago to the lowest level on record. These dynamics in today's markets are making the divide between the housing haves and the housing have-nots even wider, and keeping younger Americans out of one of the best long-term investments. For Nightly Business Report, I'm Diana Olick in Washington.
Here to talk about this supply crunch that's making it more difficult to afford a home right now, Ralph McLaughlin is chief economist at real estate site Trulia. Ralph, thanks for joining us tonight.
Sure thing, Bill.
I mean, this has been going on for a while. In fact, essentially, we're still feeling the effects of the financial crisis of almost a decade ago. How much longer do you think we continue to see this crunch?
I think it's going to be several years in the making. And the reason is this. We think a lot of existing owners of homes are actually boomers. They're the ones that have been in their homes for the while. They're a large part of the home ownership population, and that we eventually think we're going to age out of this. Another 3, 4, 5, even 10 years, those boomers will likely want to move, to downsize. Then we think inventory will free up. But unfortunately, in the short run, we don't see a lot of relief. New construction is certainly helping. And also, as prices rise, that should entice existing owners to sell their home. But we're not seeing much relief yet, and it's probably still several years to come.
But Ralph, let me get this straight. So you're expecting boomers to start wanting to downsize, meaning more affordable, smaller homes. We already know that there's a shortage of smaller, more affordable homes as it stands right now. How is that going to free up the market in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah, well, it's a bit of a catch-22, and essentially what we need to see is millennials, who actually represent the largest potential home buying population, swap with their parents, with the boomers, because those homes are starting to become suitable. But because inventory is so low, it's creating gridlock. No one really wants to move until there is space to be freed up. Again, I think we'll age out of this another 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road. Certainly, new construction can help. The more new construction we have, especially at the starter and middle segment, the better. But again, there aren't any signs that this inventory crunch is going to be easing up anytime soon.
Why haven't we seen more new construction? What's keeping the home builders from coming to market with more homes at a time when we know the demand is as strong as it is right now?
Well, you know, it's difficult to build in some markets. There are a lot of structural challenges associated with building homes. One, builders are telling us that finding skilled labor is difficult, and I think it's hard to argue against that. But also, two, you know, it is difficult to build in some of the places where we need the most housing. So, for example, here in San Francisco, where we do need inventory, we do need new homes, it is difficult to build. There's lots of fault lines. There are environmental protections that make the development process slower. And, you know, we see that in many other parts of the country where we need housing most. But on the other hand, there are actually many areas in the country that are still very affordable that have quite a bit of supply: Texas, Ohio, Illinois. So really, there is this spatial mismatch problem where, you know, where jobs are, we don't have a lot of housing, and where cheap housing is, we don't have a lot of jobs.
All right. Ralph McLaughlin with Trulia. Thanks for joining us tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you both.
And to read more about the haves and have-nots in the housing market, you can head to our website right now at nbr.com.
Oil prices resumed their slide, pulling energy shares lower, along with the blue chip Dow Index and the S&P 500. Energy stocks are among the worst performing group this year, and the concern for the broader market is that there could be a more severe pullback in commodity prices. The Dow Jones Industrial Average dropped 57 points to 21,410. The Nasdaq bucked the trend, rising about 46 points, and the S&P 500 fell fractionally. As for oil prices, they fell further into the bear market territory. Domestic crude was off another 2% today, falling to a 10-month low after U.S. government data pointed to a rise in production.
And that oil inventory report exacerbated concerns that a lot more oil on the market is out there than is needed right now. And it comes as the world's biggest oil producer itself, Saudi Arabia, names a new crown prince. That could mean some changes for the energy market. Jackie DeAngelis has more for us tonight.
Change seems to be coming to Saudi Arabia, one of the world's largest oil producers. The deputy crown prince, Mohammed bin Salman, being named crown prince or successor to the current king. MBS, as he's affectionately called, is seen as a visionary in the kingdom. Just 31 years old, he's replacing his 57-year-old cousin on the job, representing a generational change. As the driving force behind the Saudi Vision for 2030, an economic reform program that would help the Saudis diversify revenues away from oil, he's seen as more modern, more in touch than his predecessors.
This is a really big generational shift in Saudi Arabia. I mean, I used to talk about 70 being young for a crown prince in Saudi Arabia. To have a 31-year-old crown prince is a decisive break with past practice. To move aside, you know, Mohammed bin Nayef, the counterterrorism czar, the figure of the establishment, this is really groundbreaking for Saudi Arabia. So the question really will be, can Mohammed bin Salman deliver on his big reform plans?
The timing for the changing of the guard is not a coincidence. Tensions with Iran and Qatar are high. Plans for an Aramco IPO need to be executed flawlessly, and oil prices have sunk under 50. It's very important for the kingdom to get the world and the markets to believe in its leadership.
Saudi Arabia, I think, is absolutely committed to piloting this OPEC cut through. Now, the question is, what's Saudi's time horizon? The IPO of Saudi Aramco is a 2018 event. So I think they have some time to deal with this downtrend in prices as long as they can get prices on a better path in 2018. So I think they can sit tight, let the cuts play out, let the inventories draw down. And I don't think they're worried about the next couple of weeks. I think they're playing for 2018.
Playing for 2018 means planning now. Making changes like these could set the stage for a different landscape in Saudi Arabia and potentially for OPEC, since the Saudis have so much influence there. For Nightly Business Report, I'm Jackie DeAngelis.
It's not often that the founder of a fast-growing company completely steps away, but that's what happened today at Uber, the ride-hailing company that's transformed the transportation industry. The founder and CEO suddenly resigned. Aditi Roy has those details.
Uber employees walked into work this morning to a bombshell. Company founder and CEO Travis Kalanick is stepping down. In a statement to the New York Times, Kalanick said, "I love Uber more than anything in the world, and at this difficult moment in my personal life, I have accepted the investors' request to step aside." Board member Bill Gurley, whose firm Benchmark was the first Uber investor and reportedly wanted Kalanick to step down, tweeting, Very few entrepreneurs have had such a lasting impact on the world. Some Uber riders were also quick to react.
I'm glad to see that they're taking action amid allegations of sexual harassment. It's very concerning to me.
It has been a rough year for the ride-sharing company, valued at nearly $70 billion, with a reported 40 million riders a month in 80 countries. One study says Uber's U.S. market share has dropped from 84% at the beginning of the year to 77% at the end of May. In February, it was hit with a scorching blog post by former engineer Susan Fowler, who alleged sexual harassment and a culture of gender discrimination at the company, sparking a flood of other complaints and an independent internal investigation by former U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder. Then a nasty legal fight over whether Anthony Lewandowski, a head of Google's self-driving car unit Waymo, stole trade secrets when he left for Uber. Then 2 weeks ago, the company fired 20 employees amid the Holder investigation. And last week, Kalanick took a leave of absence. Since the company's problems started, there has been a mass exodus of top executives. The company currently has no CEO, CFO, or CMO. We talked to some Uber employees who were split on whether Kalanick's departure is the right move for the company. Some riders say the change is much needed.
I think he should be held accountable for his actions. I mean, the guy just leads a culture of just really making it a real difficult workplace for women to work in.
Uber's board is also chiming in, saying in a statement, quote, Travis has always put Uber first and that the move will allow the company to, quote, fully embrace this new chapter. Now the board's attention turns to filling that vacant position at the top. There are reports that influential board member Arianna Huffington is leading that search. In the meantime, the company is being run by its top 10 executives. For Nightly Business Report, I'm Aditi Roy, San Francisco.
Still ahead, China needs more products that are made here in America, and the CEO of a Chinese e-commerce powerhouse is trying to make that happen.
The U.S. and China are calling on North Korea to stop its nuclear weapons program and ballistic missile tests. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson said the U.S. reiterated to China they have a diplomatic responsibility to exert economic and diplomatic pressure on the regime if they want to prevent further escalation there.
Anthem now plans to reduce the number of individual plan offerings in Wisconsin and Indiana next year. The largest U.S. health insurer has been saying that the uncertainty over the subsidy payments could cause it to exit some of those markets. Now, those subsidies are used to make insurance more affordable, and whether the government will continue to fund those payments is still unclear. Earlier this month, Anthem said it would exit most of the Ohio market next year.
Well, health care was a driving issue in the special election in Georgia yesterday. In the end, the Republican candidate won the most expensive House congressional election ever. John Harwood is in Atlanta with a look at what the victory means for the White House economic agenda.
Four major takeaways from the Republican victory in the Georgia 6 special election yesterday. First of all, the Republican political machinery is operating at a high level. They faced a big challenge in Georgia 6. They rose to that challenge. Second of all, Democrats can look forward to a good environment in the 2018 midterms, not a bad one. Even though they've lost all the specials in 2017, they all took place in Republican-leaning districts, and Democrats closed the gap in those districts. Third, though Democrats will gain seats in 2018, they have not shown they can break through in the kind of Republican-leaning districts they need to flip control of the House. This was one of those districts. That's why it was a disappointment. Finally, this outcome is positive for the Republican agenda in Washington right now. Republicans are getting ready to move on health care as well as tax reform, and Republican leaders know that this will calm their members, make it easier for them to keep them together. So President Trump and Republican leaders have reason to celebrate this outcome. For Nightly Business Report, I'm John Harwood in Atlanta.
Oracle's cloud business helps results, and that's where we begin tonight's Market Focus. The software giant saw profit and revenue climb higher, with both metrics results topping analyst targets. Shares initially rose in after-hours trading after that report, and also ended the regular session up 1% to $46.33. Meantime, Nike and Amazon have reportedly entered into a partnership to sell the athletic apparel maker's shoes on Amazon's platform through a brand registry program. Bloomberg says that the move is to help prevent third parties from selling counterfeit Nike products on the site. Shares of Nike rose more than 2% to $52.59, but the news of the deal sent shares of rival companies like Foot Locker and Finish Line tumbling in today's session. During the company's investor day, Cigna's CEO told shareholders that health insurer has up to $14 billion in capital that it could use this year for mergers and acquisitions.
I walked through 5 key areas where we're interested from an M&A standpoint: furthering our global portfolio, furthering our U.S. seniors capabilities, furthering our pharmacy and physician engagement capabilities, and then broadening our retail and government risk program capabilities. If you look back over the last 7 years, we spent our capital in essence 50-50. 50 on share buyback and 50 on M&A. And that may be a good indication of the future. We tend to be disciplined and balanced.
The company also said it plans to purchase at least $2 billion worth of its own stock here in 2017. Cigna shares were up a fraction today at $170.18.
Recreational vehicle maker Winnebago said strong growth in its towable models caused earnings and revenue to grow, with both results topping estimates. Winnebago also said a recent acquisition is helping it diversify its product lineup. Shares rose 14% to $33.45. Office furniture maker Steelcase reported sales that missed estimates as the company said it saw reduced demand from its large customers in the Americas. Profit was also a miss, and the company gave weak earnings and revenue guidance for the current quarter. Shares initially plunged in after-hours trading, adding to a 1% loss during the regular session, where they finished at $16.30. And shares of Lazy Boy rallied following the furniture retailer's stronger than expected earnings and revenue after the bell yesterday. The company also posted a rise in same-store sales. Lazy Boy shares surged 22% to $32 even.
Alibaba's CEO has now promised to create 1 million jobs here in the U.S. And to do that, the e-commerce company, which is often compared to Amazon and eBay, it's in Detroit to show business owners how to market and ship their made-in-America products to Chinese consumers. Deirdre Bosa has our story for us tonight.
From pickles to baby clothes to handcrafted treats, these products are made in America, but their owners want them shipped to China. About 3,000 attendees from across the country are in Detroit to learn how to sell their products to China's growing middle class. And who better to learn from than Alibaba, the country's biggest e-commerce company. Founder Jack Ma telling them that China needs more American products.
Next 30 years, China market need a lot of American small products, a lot of products, and made in America. The products, the quality, the service. You guys here, I visited the booth. Beautiful products. We Chinese consumers are crazy about that. We need that.
Last year, Ma told now President Trump that he'd help create 1 million jobs in America. Alibaba's Gateway is part of him making good on that pledge.
This small business, Stadium Goods, wants to be the Foot Locker of China. They've been selling their products on Alibaba's platform Tmall for about 9 months and say they've seen incredible growth. They've also hired about 5 or 6 people right here in the United States to keep up with demand. Other businesses here at Gateway have similar stories.
Like a family-owned ginseng manufacturer, a vitamin startup, and even big brands like Gerber Baby Food.
I believe that we can create at least 4 to 5 jobs a year. And if the business double, we need 20, 30, even 40 a year.
We see it as the wave of the future for the business. And because of the growth, we've been able to create tons of new jobs, up to about 20 this year.
Gerber continues to see significant expansion in international markets. This has really required us to build new capabilities within our organization.
The entrepreneurs here are excited about the prospect of selling their products in China. But to help create 1 million jobs in the United States, Alibaba still has a long way to go. And it'll have to prove to American businesses that it can crack down on counterfeit goods. Last December, it landed back on the U.S. government's notorious markets list for fakes, a designation that hurt its image among American businesses. That is especially important for startups that sell original creations, like many of the ones here in Detroit. For Nightly Business Report, I'm Deirdre Boza, Detroit.
Coming up, the biggest complaint drivers have when they get behind the wheel.
As you may know, Senate Republicans are expected to release the draft of their health care bill tomorrow. But tonight, the Washington Post is getting some details of that bill. The draft, we are learning, would end Medicaid expansion more gradually than the House-passed bill. It would link insurance subsidies to income, not age, and it would repeal all Obamacare taxes except those on high-cost health plans.
Tesla has replaced its chief of self-driving software after just 6 months on the job. That program is a critical part of the electric car maker's future. CEO Elon Musk has said he wants to demonstrate that a Tesla vehicle can drive itself by year's end.
There are also reports tonight that demand for Tesla vehicles in China is growing and that the electric vehicle maker is close to making a big push into that country. But as our Eunice Yoon reports now, as demand grows, so does the competition.
This is the EP9 supercar. It's the brainchild of Chinese EV startup NIO. But before you dismiss it as just another Chinese company hoping to rival Tesla, consider this. Its supporters are some of the biggest names in Chinese tech, the founder of Tencent, JD, and Xiaomi. And it just got a round of investment from Baidu. I spoke with the chairman of the company who told me why he believed his cars would pose a serious threat to Tesla in China.
Design in California for California. For Tesla, I always say the cars are designed in California for California. But in China, they might not fit users' demands. For example, the very cool Falcon Wing doors might not be suitable in rainy Chinese cities like Guangzhou, Shenzhen, or Shanghai. We, on the other hand, understand what our users need, and we have designed this car from the very beginning for Chinese families with children. You can see a lot of features that reflect that in the exterior, the interior, the space inside. So I believe we have a better chance to offer the market a better product.
To compete with Tesla's X model, NIO plans to have its ES8 SUV out on the market at the end of the year. The EP9 supercar, though, is a limited edition. NIO says it's the fastest EV ever and would only set you back $1.5 million.
It takes only 7.1 seconds for the car to accelerate from 0 to 200 kilometers an hour. The top speed is 313 kilometers per hour. And in the autonomous driving mode, the car can go as fast as 257 kilometers per hour. Most importantly, it has 4 electric motors that, combined, can produce as much as 1,360 horsepower. When it comes to performance, it's definitely an unprecedented supercar.
For now, Tesla has a lure with Chinese drivers. It tripled its revenue for China to $1 billion last year and is reportedly thinking of producing its cars here in China to meet all the demand in the world's largest auto market. For Nightly Business Reports, I'm Eunice Yoon in Shenzhen.
Well, there's good news and bad news for people buying a new car or truck. A new study shows the quality of new models is at a record, but the latest features to keep us safe behind the wheel may actually be frustrating drivers. Phil LeBeau has more.
New car buyers have plenty of reasons to smile. The quality of what's in the showroom has never been better. J.D. Power surveyed more than 80,000 people 3 months after they bought a new model and found a drop in complaints for the majority of the brands, with the top 3 being Kia, Hyundai's new luxury brand Genesis, and Porsche. By comparison, J.D. Power says the worst initial quality reviews came from those who bought a Volvo, a Jaguar, or a Fiat. But there's one complaint that sticks out among new car buyers. Driver assist features like adaptive cruise control and collision avoidance systems are not working the way many people expected.
In some cases, it's a question of educating the consumer as to how some of these systems work. But frankly, some of them are actually fairly complicated and not something you necessarily want to be using when you're driving at 70 miles down the freeway.
With automakers like Tesla and tech firms like Waymo developing self-driving cars, there is an all-out race to have vehicles make more decisions for drivers. Sometimes the technology is intuitive, sometimes it's not, and sometimes it's just plain annoying.
We are seeing with some of these advanced safety systems like lane departure warning or collision avoidance systems, that some consumers are complaining that they're a little bit too nannying and trying to stop them driving the way they want to.
It will take many years, perhaps even more than a decade, before we see autonomous drive vehicles where we make virtually no decisions behind the wheel. Until then, the gradual addition of technology designed to keep drivers safe may have the unintended effect of frustrating those very same drivers. Phil LeBeau, Nightly Business Report, Chicago.
Yes, more machines bossing us around. Phil wrote a piece about new vehicle reliability. You can find it on our website, nbr.com. And that's Nightly Business Report for tonight. I'm Contessa Brewer.
Good night, Contessa. I'm Bill Griffith. Have a great evening, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.